Keanu Reeves has built a career that spans generations, from Bill and Ted to The Matrix to John Wick. Fans love him not only for his roles, but for his humility and the sense that he's still a fan of cinema himself. He might be a global superstar, but Keanu has never stopped being that kid who loved movies and looked up to the greats. When asked about the actors who inspire him most, Keanu didn't pick based on popularity or box office numbers. His list reflects something deeper: admiration for authenticity, intensity, and artistry. Some of his choices are legendary names from Hollywood's golden age. Others are personal, co-stars who shaped his career and friends whose influence never left him. Together, they reveal a portrait of who Keanu Reeves really is, not just as an actor, but as a person. Marlon Brando. When Keanu Reeves talks about his favorite actors, one name always rises to the top: Marlon Brando. To Keanu, Brando isn't just another Hollywood legend. He's the man who reshaped the very idea of what acting could be. Brando brought an intensity and naturalism to the screen that hadn't been seen before. Performances in films like A Streetcar Named Desire and On the Waterfront felt raw, alive, and unpredictable. For Keanu, who has always gravitated toward authenticity, Brando embodied the idea that acting wasn't about pretending, but about being. In interviews, Keanu has referred to Brando as the godfather of acting, a man whose influence reached far beyond his own films. Even as Brando's later years were marked by eccentric choices, his legacy as a revolutionary force in cinema remained untouchable. It's easy to see Brando's fingerprints on Keanu's approach. While Keanu doesn't mimic Brando's style, he shares that same desire for truth in a performance. Whether he's Neo questioning reality in The Matrix or John Wick grieving his lost wife, there's an honesty to Keanu's delivery that echoes Brando's philosophy. Keep it real, keep it human. By naming Brando among his greatest inspirations, Keanu was tipping his hat to the man who changed acting forever. And Brando wasn't the only tragic icon on Keanu's list. Another star who burned bright, lived fast, and left far too soon also holds a special place in his heart: James Dean. For Keanu Reeves, James Dean represents the raw, youthful energy that only comes once in a generation. Dean's career may have lasted just 3 films: East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, and Giant, but the intensity he packed into those performances secured his status as a cultural icon. Keanu has often spoken about how Dean's vulnerability and volatility on screen felt like a window into the human soul. Unlike the polished stars of his era, Dean seemed fragile and unpredictable, making his characters unforgettable. That kind of honesty resonated with Keanu, who has built his own career around understated but deeply human performances. There's also a sense of personal kinship. Both Dean and Keanu carried a certain melancholy in their public image, a quiet coolness that wasn't about bravado, but about introspection. Keanu has called Dean's work timeless, admiring how his emotions still feel fresh decades later. Dean's untimely death at just 24 only deepened his mythos. For Keanu, who values authenticity above all else, Dean was proof that an actor's impact isn't measured in years, but in truth. And while James Dean embodied youth and rebellion, Keanu also looked up to actors who brought maturity and steady wisdom. Paul Newman. Paul Newman was more than a movie star. He was the embodiment of authenticity. From Cool Hand Luke to The Verdict, Newman carried himself with a quiet strength that Keanu Reeves has long admired. For Keanu, Newman represented a kind of acting that didn't rely on big gestures or theatrics. Instead, it was about subtlety, presence, and an honesty that felt effortless. Newman could make you believe in a character with just a glance, and that restraint is something Keanu himself has carried into his own performances. But it wasn't just Newman's screen work that inspired Keanu. Newman's life off camera, his philanthropy, his racing career, his decades-long marriage to Joanne Woodward, showed a balance rarely seen in Hollywood. Keanu has spoken about admiring actors who remain true to themselves despite fame, and Newman was the gold standard of that. When Keanu named Newman among his favorites, it wasn't just about talent, it was about integrity. Newman proved that you could be one of the biggest stars in the world and still live with humility, kindness, and authenticity. From Newman's quiet power, Keanu's list moves to actors known for their fiery intensity. Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro has been called one of the greatest actors alive, and Keanu Reeves wholeheartedly agrees. De Niro's career, stretching from Taxi Driver to Raging Bull to Heat, showcases a versatility and intensity that Keanu deeply respects. What sets De Niro apart for Keanu is his total commitment to character. De Niro didn't just act, he transformed. Whether gaining weight for Raging Bull or immersing himself in the psychology of Travis Bickle, he embodied roles so completely that audiences often forgot they were watching Robert De Niro at all. Keanu has said he admires actors who disappear into their characters, who don't just play the role, but become it. In many ways, that's the same ethos Keanu brings to his work. From Neo to John Wick, his characters are defined not by flashy acting, but by absolute dedication to their worlds. De Niro also represents the kind of longevity Keanu aspires to. Decades into his career, De Niro continues to command respect, balancing prestige dramas with more mainstream roles. For Keanu, he's proof that talent, when paired with discipline, creates a career that can endure. And when it comes to intensity, there's another actor on Keanu's list who matches De Niro's fire: Al Pacino. If Robert De Niro represents transformation, Al Pacino represents pure electricity. And for Keanu Reeves, working with him was a career-defining experience. The two starred together in The Devil's Advocate, 1997, where Pacino played the devil himself opposite Keanu's ambitious young lawyer. For Keanu, sharing the screen with one of his idols was both intimidating and exhilarating. He later described Pacino as electric, someone who could light up a scene with sheer presence. Pacino's legendary performances in films like The Godfather, Serpico, and Scarface embodied intensity, charisma, and moral complexity. Keanu has said he admires actors who bring truth to extremes, who can be larger than life while still feeling real. Pacino's ability to shout, whisper, and smolder all in the same scene left a lasting impression on him. But what Keanu values most is Pacino's generosity as a co-star. Despite his iconic status, Pacino gave Keanu space to explore, encouraged him, and elevated his performance rather than overshadowing it. That collaborative spirit made a deep impact on Keanu's own approach to acting. Working with Pacino wasn't just a bucket list moment, it was a masterclass. And if Pacino gave Keanu professional inspiration, the next actor gave him something far more personal: friendship and brotherhood. River Phoenix. Of all the names on Keanu Reeves's list, none is more personal than River Phoenix. Their friendship was short, but it left an imprint on Keanu that has lasted a lifetime. The two met in the early 90s and quickly became close, bonding over music, art, and a shared sense of being outsiders in Hollywood. They famously co-starred in Gus Van Sant's My Own Private Idaho, 1991, a film that showcased River's raw vulnerability and Keanu's quiet intensity. The movie became a cult classic, but for Keanu, it was more than a film. It was a journey he took with one of his best friends. Keanu has often said River was one of the most beautiful spirits he ever knew. He admired River's fearlessness as an actor, his ability to throw himself into a role without hesitation. But just as important was River's kindness off-camera. Keanu recalled how generous River was with friends, strangers, and even stray animals. Tragically, River's life was cut short in 1993 at just 23 years old. For Keanu, the loss was devastating. He rarely speaks about it in detail, but when he does, the emotion is clear. He has said his favorite memories of River are simple ones: playing music together, hanging out quietly, sharing moments of real connection. By naming River Phoenix among his greatest inspirations, Keanu isn't just honoring an actor. He's honoring a friend whose talent and spirit shaped the man he became. From the deeply personal to the classically trained, Keanu's list next highlights one of the greats of stage and screen: Peter O'Toole. Peter O'Toole is remembered as one of cinema's greats, and for Keanu Reeves, his name belongs firmly on the list of inspirations. Best known for his commanding role in Lawrence of Arabia, 1962, O'Toole embodied classical gravitas and theatrical precision. Keanu has expressed admiration for actors who can balance stage technique with cinematic intimacy, and O'Toole did exactly that. His performances carried the weight of Shakespearean drama, yet they never felt out of place on film. He had a way of filling the screen with presence, not through shouting or theatrics, but through sheer command of character. For Keanu, O'Toole represented a bridge between old-school theatrical discipline and modern film realism. He valued O'Toole's elegance, his craft, and his ability to make even the most complex characters relatable. There's also an element of aspiration here. O'Toole's career spanned decades, with peaks and valleys, but his artistry never wavered. Keanu admires actors who endure, who treat acting not as fame-chasing, but as a lifelong craft. From O'Toole's classical weight, Keanu's list jumps forward to one of the most transformative modern performers, Cate Blanchett. Cate Blanchett is one of the most respected actresses of her generation, and Keanu Reeves has made it clear that he holds her in the highest regard. To him, Blanchett represents the epitome of range and integrity, an actor who can slip seamlessly between blockbuster spectacles and intimate art house films, from Elizabeth to Blue Jasmine to Thor. Ragnarok, Blanchett has shown that she can embody royalty, fragile humanity, and even a goddess of death with the same conviction. Keanu has said he admires actors who transform so fully that you forget who they are. And Blanchett is a master of that. But it's not just her versatility that inspires Keanu. He's also praised Blanchett's discipline and her roots in theater, which give her performances a grounded depth. Much like Keanu, she approaches roles with humility and focus rather than ego. By naming Blanchett one of his favorites, Keanu was spotlighting an artist who embodies the very qualities he values most: authenticity, dedication, and a fearless approach to storytelling. And while Blanchett represents grounded craft, Keanu's admiration also extends to performers who feel almost otherworldly. Tilda Swinton. Tilda Swinton is often described as otherworldly, and for Keanu Reeves, that's exactly what makes her so special. The two worked together on Constantine, 2005, where Swinton played the Archangel Gabriel opposite Keanu's weary exorcist. Their dynamic on screen was unforgettable, strange, powerful, and filled with tension. Keanu has praised Swinton for her ability to transcend typecasting. She doesn't just play characters, she transforms into beings that feel like they could only exist through her. Whether she's embodying royalty in Orlando, a vampire in Only Lovers Left Alive, or a cosmic force in Doctor Strange, Swinton makes the unreal feel real. For Keanu, who values authenticity above all else, Swinton's artistry is proof that truth can exist even in the most fantastical roles. He's spoken about how inspiring it was to work opposite her, calling her a vision and admiring her complete fearlessness in approaching characters. Swinton's presence on his list also highlights Keanu's appreciation for unconventional talent, actors who redefine the boundaries of performance. And when it comes to mentorship and personal impact, few names resonate with Keanu as much as his Matrix co-star, Laurence Fishburne. Laurence Fishburne isn't just one of Keanu Reeves's favorite actors, he's also one of his most important collaborators. Their partnership began with The Matrix, 1999, where Fishburne played Morpheus, the wise mentor who introduces Neo to the truth about reality. From the very first scene together, their chemistry was undeniable, and their connection extended beyond the screen. Keanu has repeatedly praised Fishburne as a mentor figure, both in character and in real life. He's described him as someone with a commanding presence, a performer who doesn't just act, but embodies the gravity of every word. Fishburne's ability to balance strength with compassion made Morpheus unforgettable, and Keanu has said he felt privileged to learn from him on set. Their bond only grew stronger as they reunited for the Matrix sequels and later in the John Wick franchise. Keanu admires Fishburne's versatility, how he can move from Shakespearean theater to gritty crime dramas to blockbuster sci-fi without ever losing his authenticity. What stands out most, though, is Keanu's respect for Fishburne as a person. He's called him a gentleman and a leader, someone who elevates everyone around him. For Keanu, Fishburne isn't just a co-star, he's family. And when it comes to versatile performers, another actor on Keanu's list shares that same chameleon-like quality: Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman is often called an actor's actor, and it's no surprise that Keanu Reeves counts him among his favorites. Known for his astonishing versatility, Oldman has disappeared into roles ranging from Sid Vicious in Sid and Nancy to Winston Churchill in Darkest Hour, winning an Oscar for the latter. Keanu worked with Oldman early in his career on Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992, where Oldman played the title role with a mix of menace, charm, and heartbreaking vulnerability. For Keanu, watching Oldman up close was like attending a masterclass in performance. He has said that Oldman's ability to fully inhabit a character, no matter how extreme, left a permanent impression on him. What Keanu admires most is Oldman's fearlessness. He doesn't shy away from unlikable or bizarre roles. He embraces them and makes them unforgettable. That commitment to craft, even at the expense of vanity, is something Keanu deeply respects and strives for in his own career. For Keanu, Gary Oldman represents the kind of actor who elevates every project simply by being in it. And while Oldman embodies transformation, another name on Keanu's list is more personal, a co-star whose eccentricity and intensity made a lasting impact. Crispin Glover. Crispin Glover might seem like a surprising addition to Keanu Reeves's list of favorite actors, but it makes sense when you look at Keanu's taste. Known for his eccentricity and unpredictable energy, Glover has always marched to the beat of his own drum, qualities that Keanu finds fascinating. The two crossed paths in the 1986 cult classic River's Edge, one of Keanu's earliest and most important films. The movie, which told the story of a group of teenagers grappling with a shocking crime, was gritty, dark, and unflinchingly real. Glover's performance as the frantic motor-mouthed Lane stole the spotlight, and for Keanu, it was unforgettable. In later interviews, Keanu has praised actors who bring intensity and uniqueness to every role, and Glover certainly fits that mold. His work is often strange, sometimes unsettling, but always compelling. That willingness to take risks and fully commit left an impression on Keanu during his formative years. By naming Glover among his favorites, Keanu revealed that he doesn't just admire polished legends, he values the wild cards too. And when you step back and look at his entire list, a clear picture of Keanu's philosophy of acting begins to emerge. Why these actors? Looking at Keanu Reeves's list of favorite actors, a clear pattern emerges. It isn't just about fame, awards, or who dominated the box office. The actors Keanu admires most share something deeper: authenticity, intensity, and humanity. Marlon Brando, James Dean, and Paul Newman represent the classic icons who redefined acting by bringing truth to the screen. Robert De Niro and Al Pacino embody commitment and transformation, masters of intensity who set the standard for modern performance. River Phoenix and Laurence Fishburne reflect the personal side of Keanu's admiration, friends and mentors who shaped his career both on and off the screen. Their presence shows that Keanu's heroes aren't only distant legends, but also the people who stood beside him. Cate Blanchett and Tilda Swinton highlight his respect for versatility and fearlessness, while Gary Oldman and Crispin Glover prove he values actors who take risks and embrace the unconventional. Together, the list paints a portrait of Keanu Reeves as an actor who doesn't chase stardom for its own sake. He admires artists who are fearless, who are generous, and who never lose sight of their humanity, qualities that mirror his own.